Best Games 2024. As always, not necessarily games that came out in 2024, just games I played for the first time in 2024. Just because a game is 1 year or 2 years or 10 or 30 years old doesn't mean it's not just as fun today. Shit! Each year I usually have 1 or 2 dishonorable mentions for games I truly did not jive with, but this year I really didn't play any games like that. Well, I guess there was Zenless Zone Zero. Hoyoverse backed up a dump truck full of several student loan payments for me to try it out and make a video on it. This game is jingling keys, but the keys are boobies. I know their target audience well, since you can play the whole game with one hand, and that's not a joke. It was also the only time I've ever been told to change something I said in a review, but that's a video for another day. Speed round of games I didn't finish, maybe next year. Horizon Zero Dawn. It's good. It's Breath of the Wild, except you're fighting robot dinosaurs, but technically this came first by 1 week. The PS4 version still looks incredible, so of course they released a remaster for it. Wait, what the fuck? Sword of Convalaria. It's Chinese triangle strategy. It's got some pretty cool gameplay and strategy ideas, but I can never full-throatedly recommend a gacha game. Rollerdrome is cool as hell. It's Tony Hawk with a gun and a splash of Max Payne time slowdown. Just surviving a level is hard, but they make you clear a bunch of optional objectives to get the next set of levels, which I really don't like. Metroid Dread. I finally played it. Yep, sure did. What was my favorite part, you ask? Well, of course I'd have to pick... Now, in regards to the song that's been playing in the background, it's a common thing for people to post something like, they did not have to go this hard on the soundtrack, when no, it is literally the composer's job to go hard on the soundtrack. That being said, they really did not have to go this hard on this song, Spin Cycle, for the soundtrack to number 14 on our list, Foamstars. This game is Splatoon for straight people. It's 4v4 online multiplayer where your guns shoot soap. The game finally went free to play about 9 months after launch, and they added in 2B from Nier in their final season of content. While it's absolutely not being the Splatoon clone allegations, it does have its own thing going on, and I genuinely did want this game to succeed. Until I learned they used generative AI in some of the art in the game, now I'm glad that this game did not succeed. For a rating, I give it a learn out of a possible to draw. And you too could learn to draw using today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. Any creative field you can think of, they probably have several classes on it. Photography? They got it. Web development? They got it. Marketing and business? They got it. But why are you asking about those categories specifically? No reason. Me personally, I've been wanting to step my thumbnail game up. Check out this class, YouTube video thumbnail design in Canva by my man Cal Hyslop. Check out this whole learning path where Skillshare will curate a whole sequence of digital art classes for me so I can step my drawing game up. Check out this web design learning path where my dog learned how to build a WordPress e-commerce website where he's auctioning off my stuff. Wait, what? And you already know I got the hookup for y'all. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can check it out for yourself. There's most definitely courses out there for you, so get started today with Skillshare. Unlucky number 13. Super Mario Party Jamboree is the worst thing that happened to me in 2024. And this year, I got cheated on. By a white woman. As someone who has a negative luck stat, I despise Mario Party and everything it stands for. I can do I in the skill-based minigames, but I lose the luck-based minigames left and right. Here's what happened when I tried to play it once. This is from a stream. Ignore whatever Subway Surfers ass bullshit is happening on screen. This is why I don't respect streamers. I always play as Pauline for 2 obvious reasons. Her singing ability and fashion sense. Not to mention them big ass motherfucking titties. turn 2, I landed on a Bowser square, already off to an ass-tastic start. Vic Vion lands on Boo, chooses someone at random to steal coins from, and of course it goes after me. Awesome, dude, that is so great. I land on a burst space and lose the rest of my coins, getting crushed by falling ham sandwiches. I used the Boo to steal a few coins and then lost them immediately to a piranha plant space. Any attempt I make to mount a comeback is met with extreme hostility. The rhythm minigame to win Donkey Kong as your partner is the laggiest shit ever, and then Cephalorock wins 2 stars because they won the laggy Donkey Kong minigame, and in this game you can buy 2 stars at once if you have a buddy. Boo at random, completely random, goes after me. Twice! I'm in last place! Give me a break! And then my trusty double dice block makes me land on a Bowser space again! I'm the only one landing on these red spaces, so I have to play my ass off just to tie in these 1v3 minigames. Not even win, just tie! The game is so lopsided that at this point, Cephalorock is foregoing more stars just to keep it interesting. I'm finally in position to get 2 stars in my next 2 turns, but then Vic Vion gets the bright idea to steal my golden pipe from me!
Do it! I dare you! Do it!
No, don't do it! I was bluffing! I'm finally able to get my first star on turn 11 out of 15! Cephalorock is so far ahead, they're just rejecting more stars! And then there's the Daisy minigame. To win Daisy, Vasco gets a score bonus at the start because he landed on the Daisy space. I once again play my ass off in these stupid fucking minigames, and it ends in a draw between me and Vasco, only because, remember, he got the little boosty at the start, so it comes down to a dice roll, and I roll a 3! I roll a 3! Meanwhile, Vic Vion uses the stolen golden pipe that I bought with my hard-earned American coins to get another star. I get drawn into a Bowser space twice, even though I didn't even land on it this time, because Vasco won Daisy by a dice roll, so he had to do double Bowser, which means we all had to do double Bowser. Meanwhile, Vic Vion gets whooped to a 3rd star that could have been mine. Meanwhile, I get the worst option of the bad luck space and lose 7 coins, which makes me 1 coin short of buying another star, and then I lose another 1v3 minigame, and then Vic Vion draws me into a first minigame on accident, and the guilt is affecting her conscience finally. She tries to lose 1 coin to me on purpose to help me out with some chump charity, but it's a game that's entirely luck-based, and it ends in a draw, which is fine. I can probably get another star next turn, and maybe win some bonus stars, but nope, Vasco rolls just enough to take the star that's right in front of me, and then the new star spawns right behind me, but I do get some chump charity because I'm in last fucking place! In the final desperate move, I use the warp block to go to a random space. And you know where I go? I warp behind the star. 11 spaces behind the star, and the dice only goes up to 10, and it's the final turn! Cephalorock throws the dual minigame against me if it's more chump charity and gets 2 bonus stars and wins. This shit is more rigged than the Bachelorette. For a rating for Super Mario Party Jamboree out of a possible Satan, I give it a Hitler. Why the hell is there a Mario Party Battle Pass? Number 12, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I already made an Academy Award-winning video on this game that you can watch after you're done with this one, but here's the quick version. Zelda goes on her own adventure. The first couple of hours are incredible. Collecting new echoes left and right, exploring Hyrule, stacking beds on beds on beds to reach new areas. But by the end of Dungeon 3, I was like, yeah, I get it, and there's still 5 more dungeons to go. I hope it gets some type of sequel where they can make the iffy parts a little better. It's one of those really well-made games that's not super fun to actually play. For a rating, I give it a taking a nap in the middle of a boss fight. Number 11, Animal Well. I'm gonna preface everything by saying I don't like Metroidvanias all that much, and I still enjoyed this game. Animal Well is the most immersive game of this year. It's the type of game you play with all the lights turned out and with really good speakers or headphones, because while there's very little in terms of music, it has great sound effects and great sound design. There's no text, there's no dialogue, but there are over 100 animals, some friendly and help you out on your journey, others are huge fucking assholes who got what was coming to them. Yeah, get fucked, you stupid peacock! One thing I did not like was how there were a lot of one-hit deaths. miss, and then you get sent back to the checkpoint, so you gotta walk all the way back to the room just to die again in one hit. And there were large amounts of time when I literally had no idea where to go next, and retraced my steps endlessly across the entire map until I found a new room half an hour later. This game has secrets within secrets within secrets, and multiple references to Game of the Year 20 times in a row, Super Mario Bros. 2, and that's not even a joke, that's real. I did roll credits on the game, but with so many secrets, how much of the game did I actually see? I definitely didn't get all those eggs. For example, pretty early on, I accidentally learned that you can sky surf on the frisbee, which is a technique I used the whole game, so I can't help but wonder what other secret techniques I may have missed. But this game is cool. For a rating, out of a possible Halo 3, I give it a Halo 2. Number 10. The first video games that were ever bought specifically for me when I was 10 years old was the Nintendo GameCube and Mario Sunshine, Animal Crossing Original Crossing, and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. These 3 games were what made me fall in love with video games, especially Sonic. Opening the game with City Escape, the Sonic levels were so cool, the music was amazing, the treasure hunting levels, the Chow Garden added infinite replayability, and the story was incredible to a 10-year-old. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle quickly became one of my favorite games ever. I then proceeded to never finish another 3D Sonic game for 20 years because most of them are bad. Shadow Generations is Sonic Adventure 2. The Act 1 3D stages are way past cool. They're new versions of levels from the handful of games he's been playable in, and one from Frontiers. I don't think Shadow was in that game, but then no levels from his own game. Did they forget about Shadow 05? I love how Shadow teleports for his homing attacks. Oh my god, so much sauce. You can use the Chaos Control to stop time, which also pauses the game's timer so you can get an S rank for that level. And halfway through each 3D stage, some black guy shows up and pulls some Doctor Strange mirror dimension magic and keeps teleporting you to Radical Highway for 1 minute and then you go back. I'm not entirely sure why he does this. I guess he just really likes Radical Highway. And then the Act 2 2D stages I tolerated. I don't know if it's the TV I was playing on or if my eyes are bad because I'm getting old, but oftentimes in the 2D levels, especially when you're boosting, I couldn't see anything. You gradually get more Doom powers, and while most of them are integrated well with the gameplay, Doom Morph is janky as hell, but it wouldn't be a Sonic game without a little bit of jank, right? You also explore this Bowser's Fury looking hub world between each level to find the next level, and you have to clear challenges between the main levels. And they're not bad, but I found those activities to mess with the pacing a little bit. However, if they weren't there at all, then the game would only be 2 hours long instead of 3 hours long. But the game also comes with a remaster of Sonic Generations. I ain't playing that, but I'm sure it's great. For a rating, I give it a Shadow the Hedgehog. He's the coolest motherfucker to ever do it. Losers on the internet will try to convince you otherwise, and they're both wrong and dumb. Shadow the Hedgehog is the epitome of maxed out aura. If you don't think Shadow is cool, then fuck you! Number 9 is Donut County. It's an indie game and also the silliest game I played this year, both through its writing and its mechanics. It seems like a simple game where you're a raccoon who works at a donut delivery shop, but actually, it's a non-linear narrative that jumps between your whole consuming everything and the aftermath of your whole consuming everything, and everyone is stuck underground. As you swallow objects, your hole gets bigger and bigger, so it can swallow an even bigger load. It's like Katamari, but only in 2 dimensions. And it's a pretty short game, so go buy it and play with your hole. For a rating, I give it a donut, but like a really big donut with sprinkles. I'm very hungry. Number 8. Disco Elysium. I finally played it. This game is basically a point-and-click adventure where you're a piece of shit detective deadbeat loser. God, your character sucks so much. Whose task was solving a murder, and it gradually unravels into a larger conspiracy. And then on like day 2, the murderer confesses. He's just like, yeah, I done it. What are you gonna do about it? And I'm like, oh, the credits didn't roll, so nothing, I guess. This is an extremely political game. The actual definition of political, not the gamer rage bait definition. And the game is able to effectively communicate these political themes with nuance in quite possibly the best written script in any video game ever, with top-notch voice acting to match, which really endears you to this world's characters, even the ones you may disagree with, especially considering every character you meet in this game is either a freak, or an asshole, or Kim Kitsuragi. But this one crazy ass thing happened to me while I was playing the game. I'm communist now. Number 7, Dragon's Dogma 2. Capcom sent me this game for free, although I did play the original a couple years ago. Dragon's Dogma is the actual game that people think Skyrim is. It's an open world RPG where you're exploring what looks exactly like the Eastern European countryside. According to Vasco Games, this is what it looks like. And in this game, shit ain't easy. You want to go to another town or explore a cave, you have to plan for it. How much stuff you're gonna carry, if your healing nuts have rotted, if you have enough lantern oil, because nighttime really is nighttime in this game and you can't see anything. So much so that your pawn will dive right into the water that kills you. Friction is the operative term here. And I ain't talking about what I do with Ulrika or the brothel lady, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyways, if you want to fast travel from the menu, like you can in most other open world games, well, you can't. Instead, you have to hire a buffalo cart, and the cart physically moves, and you can sit back and watch as it travels slower than your walking speed. But that's okay, because you can always take a nap and wake up when you're there.
Ox carts make for relatively safer travel.
Fewer monsters are to be found on the main road, though carts travel only by the sun's light.
Ice's stain is yours to wield.
Just kidding! In the middle of fast traveling, you got attacked by Peter Griffin with 7 health bars! However, I do like how the other NPCs will actually help you fight. That's not common in a lot of games. You can climb on enemies to stab them even more up close and personal, get all up in their grill, but whoopsies, the Griffin is flying away with me on it.
3 days later.
I seem to be in a bit of a predicament up here. This open world feels like an actual world because shit just happens in this game. You can be walking through town and a random giant has wandered in and all the knights are fighting it. This isn't like a scripted event or quest or anything. It just happens. Most games nowadays go out of their way to make sure the player is well taken care of. However, this game, Animal Well, and one more game on today's list really don't give a fuck about if you see all the content or not. There aren't a ton of quest markers or UI telling you what to do. You just figure it out yourself. Or look up a guide online. But where's the fun in that? I remember thinking I found the hidden village I was looking for, but then found a hidden village inside the hidden village, and that's what gave me the ultimate move for my thief vocation.
Mayhap you will think this a trifle, but...
Master, watch out!
the paths to victory are myriad indeed. That strategy never would have occurred to me.
Now that is a surprise.
It's all very high fantasy, dark fantasy, D&D-esque with real-time combat. I played as an all-black Catman thief, who's similar to one of my actual D&D characters that I've played, except his attacks are doing all sorts of Sonic the Hedgehog aerial flips and shit, and I love the game's pawn system. They're not slaves, they're pawns, where you can hire other players' sidekicks as your own sidekick, and then they'll learn stuff about the world and help you out when they get back with things like treasure chest locations. It's the type of passive online system that I would love to see in more games. The pawns help you out in combat, they help you gather items, I made a whole video about that. They help navigate for you for quests most of the time.
We're in your hands, sir. Much obliged.
I spent 2 hours trying to make Tifa Lockhart as my main pawn in the game, but ended up with, we have Tifa at home. Please take her out for adventures. She needs to go on walks and get socialized. There was maybe some unintentional misinformation about this game's DLC practices when it launched, but Dragon's Dogma 2 is the real deal, and has a really cool twist if you go for the true ending. I don't care what anyone says, this game is awesome. For a rating, I give this game a high 5. After combat, you can dap up all your teammates. More games should have high 5s like this. Number 6. In Unicorn Overlord, you play as a blue-haired prince who grew up on an island after his kingdom was conquered, with a small retinue of knights, a lady friend who's also very powerful, and an old man knight mentor who starts strong but gradually falls off, and you embark on a journey to retake your homeland from an evil empire. Wait, hang on, I put the wrong footage in, that's so embarrassing. Here we go. In Unicorn Overlord, you play as a blue-haired prince who grew up on an island after his kingdom was conquered, with a small retinue of knights, a lady friend who's also very powerful, and an old man mentor knight who starts strong but gradually falls off, and you embark on a journey to retake your homeland from the evil empire. I don't know if this game is officially Fire Emblem inspired, but I mean, come on. The key difference here though is that it's a real-time strategy game, and one guy is actually a group of up to 5 guys on a 2x3 grid. You can mix and match different classes and arrangement to find combos that synergize well together, and you can pre-program what moves they use when with these different gambits. And on the field, depending on who the leader is, you can call in tactical airstrikes from your ally units for chain attacks. There's a lot of game in this game. You're not just unicorning, you're also overlording. Rebuilding towns to collect resources, accessing ports to new areas, support conversations, rapport conversations to flesh out the characters, cooking to build rapport, Coliseum to test your builds and unlock a new character, or fight against other players' teams online, mining minigame to collect gems. The game actually tells you the growth rates inside of the game. I have no idea why Fire Emblem still doesn't do that. You're constantly unlocking new characters and new classes to build out your army, and it's all presented with that distinct vanillaware art style. Every scene is like a painting. Not to mention the amazing character designs. Whether you like handsome Bishonen boys, or half-naked witches doing a little dance, or extremely gender sword fighters, or half-naked elves, or furry bait, or owly bait, or big woman. There's a little something for everyone. That being said, it's the type of game where a few large flaws become very apparent. First up, unfortunately the story left a lot to be desired. Man, this really is like Fire Emblem. You know, this game actually sponsored this video for last year, and in their brief they were like, make sure you say that the narrative is not the focus. Yes, we know that 13 Sentinels had one of the greatest video game stories of all time, but just because it's a vanillaware game, this is not 14 Sentinels, this is its own thing. And I should have believed them. And the wild thing is, the dialogue and the localization and the English voice acting are all really good, but the actual events of the story just were not all that compelling. There are great individual moments, but they don't build to a larger whole. You see, the game has 5 chapters. Chapter 1 is amazing. You're constantly unlocking new classes, new characters, new mechanics. There's a 7-hour free demo where you can clear all of Chapter 1 and transfer your save to the full game. Then the game says, go here or here first, your choice. So it makes sense that the characters introduced in zones 2 and 3 wouldn't interact. But then Chapter 4 starts, and characters in Chapters 2 and 3 who seem like they're going to be main characters, they ain't in the story at all. And honestly, I started to go on mental autopilot in Chapter 4, and by Chapter 5 I realized that the rest of the story was going to be a little underwhelming. This is more of a gather a bunch of allies for a big final battle you can attempt at basically any time type of game, and you can sequence break and start later chapters earlier, but I feel like a more linear story would have been in this game's favor. The other big flaw is that the game is very easy. Maybe I lucked into some broken class combos, or maybe the items you can use whenever you want are a little imbalanced. Granted, part of that's on me. I absolutely should have cranked up the difficulty. You know, the vast majority of battle maps are take enemy strongholds, kill everything in sight along the way. There is a time limit on each map, but I never had to worry about it. I think it would have benefited from more objective types, considering the defend map outside the Drakenhold Coliseum is the peak of the gameplay, but it's also in Chapter 2. I genuinely hope there is a sequel someday, because the foundation laid here is amazing, and all they need to do in Unicorn Overlord 2 is balance the items and put a better story on top. For a rating, I give it a watching a kung fu movie without subtitles. You're here for the action. Don't worry too much about what's going on in the story. Number 5, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake. I played the original GameCube version as a kid, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, and the 20 years later remake is the definitive version of that game. That being said, the question is, does the remake really improve it enough? How much should a remake improve things at all? Back in the early 2000s, Mario in the fucking ghetto, everyone's talking all sassy, was a novel concept at the time, but since then Mario's been in all sorts of wacky adventures, so it doesn't have quite the same shock value. This remake does have a unique arrangement of the battle theme in each area, which I absolutely love. Play this game with good speakers, it's got great kick drum that drives the pulse of the combat. Plus, there's a couple extra bonus bosses. 2 extra bonus bosses. Some artwork to unlock, I think that's new, but it would have been nice if there was a hard mode or New Game Plus or something. But the core gameplay, the exploration, badges, combat partners, humor, it's all still here, and I'm glad a new generation of players can experience this masterpiece. For a rating, I give it a Pacific Rim. It has so much cool stuff, so much sauce. It's a shame it never got a sequel. But didn't they both get never got a sequel? Number 4. This year I finally played Final Fantasy VII Remake, well technically Remake Intergrade, and I couldn't finish it. The original FF7 is my 3rd favorite Final Fantasy game after 5 and 6, and not that consumerism is proof of media respect, but I've had multiple FF7 posters on my wall for years. But with Remake, I mean, the presentation is incredible, the music is immaculate, the voice acting, everyone sounds exactly how they sounded in my head when playing the original. The graphics are insane. Why the fuck is Midgar so bright though? The combat is an interesting reinterpretation of turn-based to a hybrid real-time system, although most of the time it's me smacking dude with a buster sword and calling it a day. All the bosses are given a level of gravitas that I'm not really sure they deserve. Which brings me to the dialogue. The voice actors are great, but the writing, there is so much moaning and grunting and where there should be words. Write some fucking words! That's your whole job! The character shouldn't sound like me when I see Tifa Lockhart. And there's way too much filler fluff that was not there in the original. And doesn't make the game any better either. These completely wreck the pacing. Not to mention all the annoying side characters who either had one line of dialogue in the original or are brand new, and many of them suck. Going through all these sewers and tunnels and catacombs. It really feels like they took a 5-hour opening section of the video game and stretched it into 30 hours. Because that's exactly what they did. Square Enix took the PlayStation 1 game, chopped it into thirds, and are selling it back to you because Square Enix likes money and Final Fantasy VII always sells. But that's not all, because Final Fantasy VII Remake is not just a remake of Final Fantasy VII, you big fucking idiot. It's also a meta commentary on the nature of remakes. Whenever it seems like the story is going to deviate from the original's events, a bunch of Dementors attack you. Yes, really, Dementors from Harry Potter, and they force you to follow the original PS1 story. These are supposed to very subtly represent the pressures of the developers to keep the original intact versus explore new possibilities. So basically, the annoying Dementors represent the player base. The Dementors are you. This is what they think of you. Theoretically, these sections could be interesting, but they do lead to the absolute most dog shit gameplay sections. Cloud was about to murk Reno, but that didn't happen in the original, so go do monkey bars instead. Maybe this was done on purpose. They want the players to be like, get rid of these fucking Dementors! Alright, we'll get rid of them, but that means we can change the story. Fine, just do it! It feels like there was a missing PlayStation 3 game between here. Final Fantasy VII, but all the graphics look like the cutscenes. Which I thought that's what this game was supposed to be, but apparently not. This whole change the plot, yes or no direction would make more sense had they already faithfully remade the game once before. And it wouldn't be a big deal at all if the new stuff was any good. I'd already watched all the cutscenes in April of 2020 while terraforming my Animal Crossing island, because what the fuck else am I gonna do in April of 2020? So I already knew what happened. I didn't feel compelled to finish it, and was not planning on playing the next remake game, Rebirth, anytime soon. So anyways, Square Enix sent me a code for Rebirth for free, which is really funny considering how often I make fun of Square Enix. Number 4, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This feels like the actual remake of Final Fantasy VII. It keeps a lot of what Remake does well, and improves on a lot of the shortcomings. The simplest way I can put it is that Remake feels like an FF7 extension, while Rebirth felt like an FF7 expansion. The dialogue is way better. The music is once again magnificent. This game got every song in it, man. They got a jazz band that plays whenever you play Queen's Blood, the card battle minigame with the berry sax laying down the groove when you keep restarting the level right before you lose over and over because I refuse to swap out my starter deck. If no one got me, I know security officer got me. Can I get an amen? You got a funky chocobo tune when you're digging for treasure, makes you want to do the funky chicken. They got a dog song that plays when you're on the dog side quest and your mission is to protect the dog, and the song goes bow wow wow, bow wow wow. And then when you enter combat, they got a dance battle remix of that song. They got a unique battle theme for every zone in the game. Y'all know how much I love that. They got the Midgard Swimmer boss theme, which is a remix of the original FF7 battle theme, and everybody gangsta until phase 3 kicks in, and underwater Sephiroth hops on the drum set with a double pedal on the kick drum. The first Remake game is a very long introductory section, but Rebirth feels like you're going on an adventure with your buddies. Every side quest is directly tied to a party member, making them feel more involved. I actually did a lot of the optional open world activities and side quests, because I just liked the game and liked hanging out with everyone. Cloud's going around, petting baby chocobos the same way I pet my dog. Seeing all these iconic locations in full high resolution and realistic proportions is cool. The annoying characters introduced in Remake reappear, and it's amazing how much less annoying annoying they are here. The original FF7 has like 157 minigames, and in Rebirth they have a gigajillion minigames. They even made a couple brand new minigames that suck ass. I made a whole video ranking all the minigames. The combat back in Remake felt very much like Cloud plus backup, but in Rebirth it feels like a full party, and I'm constantly switching who I'm directly controlling. And there's multiple sections where Cloud isn't even in the party at all. The new dual texts they added in go to great lengths to achieve this sense of party unity. I love the one where Cloud launches Tifa off his sword to do a spin kick to hit flying enemies. I use that one all the time. Overall, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of the greatest gameplay experiences I've ever experienced. 85% of the time. 15%, it's one of the most baffling or frustrating piece of shit fuck-ass games I've ever played. There's a few weird difficulty spikes on a few bosses that make you feel like you suck ass at the game, even though I've been fine this whole time. Or bosses that simply aren't fun at all.
There are game-breaking combos with Aerith online, but I do not know those combos, so playing as solo Aerith in combat against two guys can only be described as, fucking miserable. Navigating Gungaga is fucking impossible, and the map is completely worthless here. The broad stroke story isn't too far off from the original, but some of the creative liberties they take with this reimagining are interesting, derogatory. Cid has gotta be a Genova clone in disguise or something, because that's a brand new character. That is not the same Cid Highwind from the original. Whenever she is not talking about the live stream, Aerith is, I don't know, you ever seen that movie Poor Things? Yuffie is in the game. She was an optional character in the original and is a mandatory character in the new game, so they gave her a lot of lines. She's fun to play as in combat, but it's definitely my least favorite party member when she speaks in cutscenes, and she sure does that a lot. But mind you, this is a Final Fantasy game. Saying a Final Fantasy character is a little bit annoying. She'd still be like a top tier Xenoblade character, right? It's all about relative scale. This game needlessly references every piece of media that has milked the Final Fantasy VII IP dry, referencing games that nobody played, referencing games that nobody remembers, referencing games that you can't even play anymore. The Kingdom Heartsification of Final Fantasy VII needs to be studied. Subtlety is just thrown out the window in terms of storytelling, and the tone is all over the place. Barrett is having this big emotional scene where he has to kill his friend who lost his mind. Meanwhile, at the exact same time, on the other side of the fence, the rest of the party is fighting a boss who jumps out of his mecha and shakes and spanks his ass to taunt you. What are we doing here? Mind you, this is not where you fight this guy in the original PS1 game. Both Remake and Rebirth feel more like a Disney World tour of Final Fantasy VII, not like the actual original game. And then there's the ending. Oh my god, the ending. In this game, the plot dementors are back, but not that much. They're barely here. This time, I think they represent whether or not Aerith dies in this new version. I don't want to spoil too much of it. I'll put in some unrelated footage. Rebirth ends on what is arguably the most iconic, significant, poignant scene in all of video game history. If you are remaking this scene, you absolutely have to get this right. And on a scale of nailed it to butchered it, I say they shanked it, like hitting a foul ball. Mind you, the original Final Fantasy VII already has a complex plot with a lot of moving parts. They've made entire games and entire movies and entire anime OVAs based off of short sequences and straight lines of dialogue. It's not hard to follow what's happening, but there is a lot to remember. So with this already complex plot, I don't know if the best direction to go in would be adding in the Final Fantasy VII multiverse, where the graffiti on the dog from the dog song from that one side quest where the lyrics go bow wow wow, bow wow wow. That dog is key to understanding what's happening. I am not making that up. That is not a joke, that is real. Is this genius or stupid? Because I'm inclined to say that it's stupid. Why is this the finale of the game? What am I fighting for? But I can't be too hard on the game though. After all, it does have Tifa Lockhart in it. My prediction is that in the final Remake Rebirth game, Aerith is gonna talk to Cloud like the Joker did in Batman Arkham Knight. For a rating, I give it a Lord of the Rings Two Towers Extended Edition. Now that I've played Rebirth, there is one truth. They absolutely could have remade this game in one game. Why does Remake need 3 games? Well, because they added a bunch of extra bullshit, that's why. We still haven't even reached the end of Disc 1. There's 3 discs!
Number 3, Astro Bot. If your name is in a game, then legally you have to play it. Galaxy Mario 1 established what 3D Mario is to a huge generation of players on the Wii. Galaxy Mario 2 was better in every way because it added Yoshi. And Astro Bot is Galaxy Mario 3, except with a PlayStation mod where they hired the man. It's a sequel to Astro's Playroom, the game that comes built into every PlayStation 5 that no one actually plays. Oh wait, I didn't play it either. 1 platinum trophy later. Honorable mention, Astro's Playroom. This game is cool. This is an interactive PlayStation museum disguised as a 3D platformer tech demo that shows you all sorts of things you can do with the PS5 controller. Hang on, I gotta breathe into the microphone. Every game console should come with a pre-installed game. That should just be the law. What's really funny is that it's technically the best-selling PS5 exclusive, since everyone already has it. Not that it had a ton of competition. And the level of detail in this free pack-in game that most players won't bother playing is astounding. A lot of the bots are reenacting scenes from games that have been on PlayStation. Look at the grass, and how it's not actually grass, but computer parts. That's what I'm talking about. This game is awesome. It should really get a full-size sequel. Whereas Playroom is like an interactive PlayStation console museum, Bot feels more like a celebration of PlayStation games. In each world, first you go through some linear 3D platforming levels, and along the way you're looking for all your fellow bots. They're like blue coins. And many of those bots are dressed up as characters that have been on PlayStation. The levels are evocative of games that Sony doesn't even make anymore. I think whimsical, charming, and creative are the operative words here. They got every level in this game, man. They got a level where there's a Deku tree who starts rapping. They got a level where there's a casino where you activate chaos control and use the chips as platforms. They got a level where you use a dog as a flatulent jetpack backpack and rocket into walls. While it does borrow a lot of ideas from other games, it really feels like the product of a team of developers who grew up playing games themselves and went, you know that cool thing from that other game I like? I'm putting that in this game too. Basically, game recognized game, you know what I'm saying? This is one of the few games I've played that makes great use of the raw processing power of the PlayStation 5 by making an ass ton of particle effects and physics objects appear at the end of each level. After clearing a couple levels and finding enough bots along the way, then you fight a boss, where it's revealed that Astro's innate bloodlust is the true villain of the story, offering these enemies no mercy once they've been beaten, with their final thoughts being maimed by a brutal finisher. Oh my god! Chill, bro, chill! Astro, calm down! Stop, he's already dead! I have seen what carnage these robots are capable of. Make sure y'all are being nice to your Roombas before the robot uprising happens. Then after the boss, there's one final level in each world, and it's a level entirely themed after a specific PlayStation game series. They were all really cool and mix up the gameplay. As soon as I got to the Ape Escape level, that's how I knew this is a good game. They even got a Loco Roco level. I'm embarrassed to admit that I'd never even heard of Loco Roco until now. And in the music to the God of War level, check out how the beat drops. While I'm glad Astro Bot is able to stake out its own identity with the bulk of its levels, I do wish there were a few more of the PlayStation reference levels as well. Maybe an Astro Bot 2. Which brings me to some minor gripes. First up, look, I liked finding the bots. I like going back in and using the bot sensor to find any bots I missed. I like how you slap a bot in the lobby and they do a little dance that's emblematic of their games. I have zero Sony nostalgia. We had a PS2 in the house growing up, but it was more of a DVD player than a game console. And even I enjoyed seeing all these bots dressed up as characters on PlayStation. There were even some deep cut references. I just wish they had a little blurb, like the trophies in every Smash game except Ultimate, or at the very least told you what game series they're from, or even the name of the character instead of just a nickname. You unlock different bot outfits to wear, which it's odd that this is the only way Sony has acknowledged Bloodborne in the past 10 years, but why can't you just dress up as any of the bots? There's also a weird absence of Square Enix characters. There's like 200 bots from all these different games that are all dressed up, but no Final Fantasy, no Dragon Quest, no Kingdom Hearts, no Nier, no Foamstars? And it's odd, especially considering Astro's Playroom had an entire shrine dedicated to Final Fantasy VII, the game that helped give Sony's new console credibility as a true competitor on the market. Maybe there's some big expansion planned in the future featuring them, or maybe Square Enix was just being weird around their characters. But for now, there was some free DLC, and they added one Square Enix character, Gex. Also, you die in one hit in this game and gotta go back to the checkpoint, which is fine. The game's not that hard, but it is annoying to keep getting hit once and having to go all the way back over and over. But overall, this game is raw, unfiltered fun. For a rating, I'd give it a riding a roller coaster into a pile of cocaine. Number 2, Metaphor ReFantazio is the wokest game I've ever played. As someone who's a well-adjusted adult using the actual definition of that word, that is extremely high praise. Well, what is the game? I've only played Persona 5, so that's what I'm gonna use as a frame of reference. The gameplay framework is Persona 5.5. You got the calendar system, you can only do one activity during the day and one at night, things like hanging out with party members and other ally NPCs, flashy turn-based combat, incredible menu UI, deadlines, you gotta go whoop someone's ass.
So we'll cut through the forest, find the abandoned mine shaft in the mountain, and take the tunnel to the other side.
That way they'll never see us coming, huh?
Say that again?
But the setting is completely different. While in Persona, it's modern day and you dive into people's minds and beat the fuck out of them until they stop being an asshole, Metaphor ReFantazio takes place in a fantasy world where you're on a presidential campaign to be democratically elected to be king of the world. And I'm not even joking here, that is not a joke, that's really the plot. You start in like 5,000th place and you slowly rise in the ranks by doing good deeds. But you're actually on a secret mission to assassinate one of the candidates who did a bunch of crimes in plain sight of everyone, but is still one of the frontrunners. It's a very funny game to have come out a couple weeks before the 2024 US presidential election, because the main villain is a cross between like Donald Trump and Sephiroth.
Say you do become popular. With your face clear for all to see, surely that'd make you a prime target for assassination.
So, literally anyone could be king? Even a pauper? Or a slave? Or a criminal?
But why is it called Metaphor? Well, Metaphor ReFantazio is a very political game that tackles themes that are applicable to our modern world, and is about as subtle of a metaphor as a baseball bat to the face. You know, it's funny to see series go on and creatives see certain members of their audience completely miss the meaning of their work, or worse, take the opposite meaning, so the writing gets more and more deliberate to the point where in Metaphor, there are multiple points in the game where they consult the Book of Utopia and see what it says. Basically, the creator is looking directly into the camera and in no uncertain terms going, society should be this way, not that way. Not saying that Persona is subtle either. It's not. People just miss the metaphors more than Drake. In this game, you play as Will Metaphor, who actually talks in this game, but don't be fooled by his designer clothes because everybody knows you're a minority. Walking through town, everyone's like, ew, stinking Elder, getting called slurs and shit. This reminds me of the time I went to Alabama, or the time I went to Mississippi, or the time I went to South Carolina, or the time I went to West Virginia, or the time I went to Boston, or the time I went to London, or the time. After hearing the game is woke as hell, I tried the demo, and the key deciding factor that convinced me to instantly purchase this game was the battle music featuring the chanting Buddhist monk who sounds like a rapping opera singer. The combat is similar to Persona 5 combat, but with the Final Fantasy V multi-classing job system. You know, mastering one skill, equipping it on different jobs to mix and match, you know what time it is. Your personas in this game are big chrome guys that look like Pepsi Man knights. But then halfway through the game, you just start summoning straight up personas from hit video game series, Shin Megami Tensei. It's not a hard game, but you do have to be on your A game at all times. And I like how the combat is pretty quick. Before you enter combat, you square up with them in the overworld to get a jump on them without getting hit yourself. If you do get hit, just run away on turn 1 and try again. And if you're successful, you take them down to like half health, then exploit their weaknesses to get extra attacks. And of course the enemy can do the same thing to you, but if you use half a brain cell, you can clear them all out in one turn. You get that flashy victory screen. Ooh, that is so smooth. It's an Atlas game, so I'm contractually obligated to glaze the UI in this section. However, there are a few random difficulty spikes with a few bosses, but you can switch around your party's classes and abilities to get the advantage. I even beat the optional mega hard bosses, and I rarely ever do that in any game. You got this big fucker dragon who repels everything and poisons your whole team. You got this other big fucker dragon who charms your whole team so they attack each other. Ladies, there's plenty of Will Metaphor to go around. I beat that dragon guy by using a flame reflect barrier spell to reflect its one-hit Zeta flare attack, so it just killed itself. It was really funny and I felt very smart because I had lost to him more than once. You debate other candidates for the throne by either actually actually debating them, or by beating them up the way God intended. They don't see it how I see it, burn them to death. Katharina should become an actual full-on party member in Metaphor ReFantazio Regicide Edition. This game is truly a work of art, both figuratively and literally. I remember fighting the first major boss of the game and thinking, A, what the heck am I looking at? And B, why the heck does this guy look familiar? This must be a reference. No one comes up with this type of thing for a video game. And that's because this fantasy game isn't like Lord of the Rings fantasy, but instead, many of the enemy designs are based on works by 15th century Danish painter Hieronymus Bosch, largely regarded as the original fantasy. And by based on, I mean, that just is what that is. One of the coolest things you can do in this game is ride your sword around like a skateboard. I'm not sure how much this has to do with politics or social justice, but it's cool, goddammit. We ride together, we die together. Metaphor for life. Pro tip, take a dump on your car every Idles Day, even if your car is not turned on, and you'll get a lot of free luck point level ups. My only major criticism is, there are so many fucking mimics in this game, it's like every third chest, oh my god! For a rating, well, a bunch of the characters are named after Formula 1 drivers, so I give it a Metaphor ReFantazio. Number 1. Man, Baldur's Gate 3 is the most overrated game I've ever played. This game has 3 acts, and in Act 1, your boy was struggling. And I was playing on normal difficulty. I created a human paladin because I've never actually played a human in D&D before, and paladins are good at everything, just like me. He even has hair like I do underneath the helmet. Probably, you don't know. I need to figure out how he gets his curls in the back styled like that. After a bombastic opening where you're abducted by squid aliens, you realize this game is hard because low-level D&D is hard. All your characters suck, and there's not that much of a tutorial. You want a tutorial? Here, go read the 300-page player's handbook. There's your tutorial, and make sure it's the old one and not the new one. They slightly changed all the rules because Hasbro likes money. And even then, some mechanics work slightly differently because it's a video game. You have to get resourceful with potions and spell scrolls and tactics and positioning, and the game gives you so many options, but it's hard to tell what will work when. So when in doubt, use the ranged battle. Here's the aftermath of an encounter against some dudes possessed by a hag where the best I could do was everyone dead at the end, including me, the party tank. This wasn't even like a boss fight or anything, this is just a regular fight. Spells you choose at level ups can be the difference between life and death. Missing 1 or 2 attacks can be the difference between life and death. My squad was struggling to do anything. I accidentally became an Oathbreaker paladin, still not sure how I managed to do that. I fucked up the baby owlbear recruitment because I just kept rolling too low. I made Karlak a wild magic barbarian because I thought it would be funny. That was a stupid idea. Every time she raged, she get the fucking difficult terrain thorns, which is worse than useless. It makes it harder for your own teammates. The party members you meet are entertaining, but they either suck at combat or they're an asshole, or both. Shadowheart's kinda cute though. She'd be even cuter if her fire bolts could hit anything. Now in Act 2, I was starting to get the hang of things, but still getting killed for real in one shove into the abyss. I had to restart this stupid fucking night song battle so many times to save some stupid lady I don't even know. The party already reached level 5, which is when everyone gets a huge upgrade. Now I attack twice, so I can actually hit once. After my 5 levels of Paladin, I started multi-classing into Bard. I'm basically the same class as Chaperone. I feel like it's a character for me, you know? Plus with my Fire Harp ballads, I can help my team's shaky hit rates. Speaking of shaky hit rates, Shadowheart. She finally learned her one true combo. Activate Spirit Guardians, then walk around. In these shadow-cursed lands, there's more undead than the Thriller music video, so 2 times Divine Smite and Radiant damage made me feel like I can actually beat this game. Plus you finally get a party member, Jaheira from the first 2 Baldur's Gates, who is both funny and capable in a fight. But the game is a little janky. Larian Studios have done a lot of patches and bug fixes, but the game is still a little bit janky. There's always a long pause whenever someone casts Fireball, and you're just waiting to see if your spell actually worked or if the game's about to crash. I obviously can't show it, but at one point, Minthara's clothes and armor just wouldn't load at all, and she was running around, tits out, butt-ass naked. I played the PS5 version because my computer is old, and while they did a good job of mapping a mouse and keyboard game to a controller with the radial menus and everything, yeah, play this game on a computer if you can. And a lot of stuff is missable. It's the 3rd game on this list that does not hold your hand. I unknowingly skipped both the Githyanki Kresh and the entire Underdark on accident. Back in Act 1, there are 5 characters you can recruit right at the start, and I completely missed 2 of them until way later. I found Lae'zel just dead on the side of the road, used used the scroll to revive her and she joined the party, which nobody liked, including me, and honestly, I should have left her ass there. Alright, Lae'zel, it's your time to shine. I gave you so many buffs, you have advantage. You'll only miss if you roll 2 nat 1s. Go for it, finish off that Mind Flayer. Lae'zel, you stupid fucking frog lady, you had a 1 in 400 chance and missing! That's why your ass sat on the bench the whole game! That's why your ass got kicked out of Get Yankee! That's why your ass got kidnapped by the blood lady! I didn't bother stabbing your sorry behind for 20 fucking hours! In Act 3, we finally got our shit together. I switched Shadowheart to a War Domain Cleric and Karlach to literally anything else. I used Hirelings to cast a bunch of buffs after every long rest, which took like 10 minutes to do it each time, and I was cruising through every encounter. Instead of trying to rely on my party to do things, I gave myself all of the upgrades, and everyone else can feast on my scraps. I somehow ended up with 22 strength permanently when the max is 20. Not sure how I managed to do that, but hell yeah, go me.
I'd also summon just a bunch of minions to take all the hits for me. Just roll up to every encounter with the whole 10-person squad from heaven and hell.
It's truly a water cooler game with the amount of options and seemingly endless possibilities. I'd be playing the game my own way and then getting recommended all these videos from other players and going, whoa, you can do that? Whoa, that could happen? It's a game designed to be replayed over and over, which is curious because one playthrough is over 100 hours. At this point in the story, you see the rippling effects of decisions made in Acts 1 and 2. The main plot's pretty simple. Y'all got brain worms and need to find a cure. Hijinks ensue, but it's one of the best narratives in any game the way it weaves and gives players so much player choice. Watching this band of misfits go through their own personal struggles that weave in and out of the main story. Why am I crying at 3 in the morning at some of these character endings? And just the level of effort required to make this type of game. So many things need to be accounted for, programmed in. Every line of dialogue, fully voice acted, mocapped, camera scripted. For example, the spell Speak with Animals. In D&D, the DM can just make up shit on the fly. But in a video game, you have to write and record dialogue for every single animal in the game for a spell that the player might not even cast once. Oh, and also, there's a spell Speak with Dead. Same situation. And it's some of the best voice acting ever in any game. Even if they all talk a little bit too slowly and take long pauses between sentences. Everyone is performing at such a high level. The game is really funny when it's time to be funny, and heart-wrenching when it's time for the waterworks. You fight the devil at one point, and he sings his own theme song, and the game does that thing where everyone you helped along the way helps you out for the final battle. Y'all know I love that shit. I made a whole video on it. So despite the flaws, like Althea not being a full-on party member, what the fuck, why the hell not? The game is so extremely good at what it does that the flaws are easy to overlook and you can have an amazing time. For rating, it's D&D, but your group can actually commit to meeting regularly and are also professional actors. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. All of the videos I mentioned will be linked below if you want to check them out. I think they're pretty good. Comment below with your favorite game that you played in 2024, and today's comment code word is Paladin. Comment Paladin if you made it all the way through the video, and that's it, video's over.